Online. All right. First of all, the last place that I really had a good experience with being able to go online and complain about the judicial process was back in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, because I had in the library a meeting room. I could actually go into a meeting room and just set up and play on camera and complain and present my arguments with my laptop, being able to show documents and all that. But that's not quite so the case. Oh, hello, Zepton. It's not quite so the case now. I can't go into any meeting rooms here. I believe that there are meeting rooms in Natchitoches Library, but it's on the third floor, and they don't let people just walk up there, and you have to have a meeting. And the librarians really aren't talking to me. This whole time I've been here, what, over a month and a half, pushing 2 months from January 22nd to February 22nd. Evan's in here before Palder. All right. It's just, I haven't, I don't even know who the library director is. I have no idea. I don't know who's who. I don't even know my complainants, I guess, or the lady that called me in. I have to kind of find her to serve her a subpoena. But I did turn in a subpoena to the courthouse, and they seem to take subpoenas seriously here, and they should. But I served my first subpoena was for police policies, and these cops are actually responding to that. So maybe I could sort of expect Rosalind to be at my trial on the 23rd without me having to see her face to face. I'm not sure. Zapton's making a jelly sandwich. So that's something interesting, that they're taking subpoenas seriously, but they laugh at FOIAs. So you need to actually be like a criminal. They give the only way you get respect in Louisiana is to actually be a criminal, because any public employees have full protection from public records requests. You can't even you can't see their disciplinary records, and you can't even see if they got any awards as a public employee. If I'm like, I just want to see their awards. What did they win? Did they win any accolades for anything? Can't show it. It could cause jealousy. That's what the whatever the judge in Superior Court argued, was that it could cause jealousy. You could cause like a disgust for the people if you see their disciplinary records, and you could also cause jealousy if you see their awards. It's extreme. Yeah, the award for marrying a cousin. They think your rights start when you're arrested. Yeah, it's like respect. It's like their respect or for you start. It's like your rights start when you're arrested. Yeah, exactly. It's like when you're just a regular person, they don't understand why you're curious about the government if you don't have any charges against you. But then they start understanding when you got a criminal charge against you, and then they'll well, still, even though I did the FOIA request, in that I did have a criminal charge at the time, but it was an FOIA request. It was a Freedom of Information Act request, or the Public Records request, and they laughed at it. They sent it to the Gold Weems law firm in Alexandria, and then they cited me these cases. I only checked one case. One case was for that Public Employees Protection Act. Let's see, dude, you have failed to ID even one of them. Um, Person is a fiction, huh? I'm a fiction? I feel pretty real. I mean, we're talking about library categories. Is that the what the legal system's about, is library categories? Do I ask for the fiction section in the legal library? The man is a person. What's the woman then? What's the transsexual? What do you consider a transsexual? So I got this subpoena. It's moving forward better, and I guess I'm waiting for the police to submit the subpoena to the judge, which I'm guessing the city judge. It could be a district judge, the city judge, because a district judge gave me my bonds. See, Zepton, if you'd like to get the truthful version of this story, tough luck. The court has decided that for you. You're not prepared. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think I wrote that. I wrote that on a Facebook. Any stories that these cops put out on their Facebook, I mean, it's not held to a high standard for the court. It's their own story. It's not a sworn testimony on Facebook. The cops don't write sworn testimonies on their Facebook page. Just look at, and I was thinking about pulling my tablet out. Think about that city in Kansas that shut down their Facebook. I can't quite. It was on Route 66. That cop gave me a hard time. I don't want to look it up. But their Facebook, they're writing crazy stories about how the heroism of the cops and the volunteers, or whatever, finding some guy breaking in the sheds. They were acting all heroic, catching him. He surrendered when he was at gunpoint and stuff. And then after my interaction with the cops and my posting the video, they took their stories down. They were interesting stories, but then they took them down because the cops can write fictional stories on their Facebook. Let's see. This channel is called Let's Exchange IDs, and you have failed to ID anyone. Yep, I failed. Every town you have been in has shut down their Facebook. Well, I don't know, but I guess this library is now watching their comments a little closer now. So there's something there. And when I was in the police records building yesterday, there was a lady who, when I walked in, as soon as she heard my voice, I heard a door slam, and then she started recording me through the window. So there's a strong reaction to me at the public records with this one lady, and the other ladies, I guess, know me. Miss Banks, she gave me a hard time. I recorded it on voice recorder. I didn't make any video of talking with her, but we had some back and forth. But ultimately, with all that back and forth, she was like, "You got to go through the courthouse to get the subpoena for the police records," and we went back and forth a little bit. I'm like, "Well, I already did that, and they sent me here, and I'm here to collect my police records, my police policy records." And she's like, "Well, you got to get them to the courthouse, blah blah." So I did do a little back and forth, more than I cared to. We didn't divulge into yelling at each other, at least. Let's see, Natchitoches Parish Library, you have identified yourself. Did I just miss something? The director of the library is Jessica McGrath. Thank you. I think I'm gonna screenshot that. I had no idea. All right, screenshotted. It's getting a little warm. Uh-oh. The sun shouldn't be too bad. Maybe try to keep some airflow. Sun's really coming. It's feeling good, but I feel it on the camera. All right, all right. Let's see. It may not be up to date. Is that what I saw? This one that give you a hard time, you being overly officious, because they are better than you. May not be up to date. Okay. But at least I got a name. Jessica McGrath. Instead of saying, who is the library director, I'll go and say, is Jessica still the library director? Because that's what you need to do. That's where this good old boy network comes from. You don't just ask, oh, who's the guy in charge here? Because they'll be like, well, I don't know. We don't want to tell you either. You say, is so-and-so in charge? You point out names for these types of people. You got to point out names. You got to let them know that you know a little something, at least historically, who was in charge compared to now. You don't just come in and just ask real general questions with this type of network. So that name helps, because I'll get back to getting my subpoena. Like, I went over, I got a note at the courthouse. The court clerks, they got a note, just a general little note that said they're not sure about the amount of police policies I want. There's like 600 policies, and that they can't just give them all to me. It's all 600 policies for the police. They want to be more specific, narrow that down. So I was like, okay, I'll walk over to the police records and get that figured out. Look at the table of contents, point to what's applicable to my arrest. Okay, you have no idea who you're dealing with. You're assuming you're dealing with a judge. All right, tough guy. Who am I dealing with then? This is your problem. You think you're a person. Yes, I am a person. You have no idea what a person is. All right. Well, how do you say person in Spanish? Maybe you can explain it to me in Spanish. Let's see. So we got we got this yeah, I went back over to the police records, and they I went to the police records and asked about my police policies. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get them, or we can narrow them down or whatever. And that's where Mrs. Banks was giving me a hard time. You got to go through the courthouse, blah blah. So then I went back to the courthouse, and I'm like, okay, who wrote this note to you guys? And it's Mrs. I don't know, Mrs. Mary or something. And then, like, upon getting that name, I went back to the court records and I asked for this person specifically, and they're like, okay, we'll see if she's here. You gotta ask. See, in these good old boy networks, you gotta find out people. You gotta find out who's who. So it takes it's a memorization. It's practice with this, and remembering who's who, because that helps you more than what's what. Knowing who's who helps more than what's what in these small towns. So this lady that I was told who wrote the notes didn't. It was this guy showed up in her place, Mr. Walker, Officer Walker. I asked for her, I get him. Why didn't he show up when I went to ask the first time? But that's how they play the game, and I've played it. I mean, you play two organizations against each other in a kind of weird competing way, finding out information from, well, these guys said this, and then I go over and then said these guys said this, and I play this back and forth game until I get to the answer. They could give me a hard time, but they can only do that for so long. They can only put so much effort into it. So, what a name. All right, at least you're not suffering the gas prices by being stuck over $4 a gallon. That's pretty pricey. And Biden's promising us that it'll continue to go up too, because this is a patriotic duty to stand tall and strong against Russia. So let's see. Travis, despite all the stress, you look like you're healthy. I feel better. Like, I think it was either the honey or the onion powder that was causing my breathing, my swallowing and my breathing problems. But I was eating more onion powder because I'm afraid my gut's gonna blow out on me again and get all infected. But it's been doing okay. So I've been getting swallowing issues either from the honey or the onion powder. I cut back on them and I've improved. I've increased my salt intake, and I felt my heart beating and I was having trouble breathing. Um, and that salt intake increased from pickles and the sauerkraut. So I created a problem that I'm solving. But it's just like I'm trying to get more variety in my life and my diet, and sometimes I take that too far one way. Thank you, Mickey, for your very generous donation. I thanks, Travis. You rock. Thanks for doing what you do. Yeah, this is not an easy task. All right, to show strength against a group of good old boy of the good old boy network, trying to stand up against what they're doing because nobody else in this community is really pushing back. At least I talked to one lady, a local lady. She's a mom, so she's a family woman and concerned about protecting her family. She sounded like she tried. Wait, somebody say something? An excellent synopsis of Ukraine can be found on Uncle Bildy YouTube. Okay, all right, all right. Get out of town. Oh wait, why? Before they lock you up? Yeah, they're gonna lock me up for sure. The way this is going. What was I saying? I don't know. I forget now. I was talking about, yeah, the lady mother was stood up against the tyranny a little bit. Maybe she complained about the crime or something to the city council, and then she felt like afterwards she was being followed by the cops. Um, it's like I don't feel like I've really gotten followed by the cops. I think I've gotten checked on by the cops, either on their own or having been called by somebody. Um, and I gotta say also, I noticed when cops circle in the library parking lot, um, they're delivering food. So a good portion of the moments when cops are pulling into this library parking lot, they're delivering food. It's quite something to look for. And it's so strange how they're doing it. But I want to ask, thank you, Eyes Wide Open, $20. That's generous of you without a message. All right, it angers me the state of our world. We are in a police state. Yeah, the technology has made it much easier. Imagine going back to the rotary phone era. How often were how often were people calling the cops on each other and recording each other? It's it's quite it's quite a change in the culture. And those were the days when the people stood up against other countries. We were fighting other countries, making fun of the other countries, and supporting each other because we were in this together. But now we're fracturing, and I like it. I mean, being a traveler, if I traveled with before YouTube, this would be very difficult. I wouldn't be online talking about this. I wouldn't have the feedback and the help that I've gotten. I I would just have to take the hit from charges that cops give me. They would just push me around and uh, push me out of cities. I'd get lost more often, and I would probably have more interactions with cops before the internet because I would have problems with getting lost pretty easily before Google Maps using the paper maps. I couldn't follow those very closely. But yeah, it's quite a change in culture. The snitch society. Yeah, it's easy to be a snitch with all the ways to communicate with each other. You got radio. I mean, for a while we had CBs in the late 70s. A lot of people were using, but cops were listening to those too. now cops are watching our social media a little bit more. You know, they got to keep up on the culture and what's popular themselves. They naturally do. Um, yeah, Trump was only 4 years, though. I mean, we need longer periods of prosperity than just 4 years, and even 8 years. I mean, still, that's still kind of a short period of time, um, for the life of the country to enjoy the prosperity. It can't last forever. Uh, so, yeah, the short term benefit of Trump was nice, but that's got a beginning and an end to it, to that particular reign. Shorter periods for the rest of the government. Okay, so yeah, standing up against the government is what she did, and she went to city council. I'm thinking I would like to go to city council this Monday and show up at 5, a little bit before 5, and write on that sheet that I want to discuss the police delivering food. I would like to discuss that. I don't expect them to give any feedback on that. I'll just talk about it on camera, just for the fun of it. Just flesh it out. I'm gonna talk about seeing my prosecutor, Cloyd. Oh, device overheating. I knew it. I'm gonna try to put it more into shade. Am I offline? Oh yeah, I was directing the sun, so I let that go too long. I'll try to. This will help keeping it just out of the direct sun. I don't have the best connection here, so. All right, what was I saying? Oh yeah, just I wanted to talk about the food delivery. Maybe I could pay attention, try to catch a fourth delivery. That would really seal my arguments on that issue. I wouldn't expect them to make any any comments about it, but at least I'm bringing it. USB fans, yeah, that's true. That's